I think George's Room by Alun Owen is a play that's character-driven rather than plot-driven. Not a lot happens, but you do follow these two people through their initial experience with each other. And I think that attracted me, especially with a short play, because with a full-length play you can develop a plot and have lots of intricacies. It's not so easy to do that with a short play, and I think short plays are often better when they're character-driven rather than plot-driven. That's why I chose George's Room as opposed to some other play. A woman who is a widow, quite a young widow, around 30, has decided to rent out a spare room in her house. And a man comes, he's found out about this, and he knocks on the door, and he comes and he's invited into the house, and he then discovers that the relationship that she had with her now dead husband was rather a strange one, and that as a result of it, she doesn't socialise very easily, she doesn't go out and meet people, and the man decides that really he ought to try and do something about that and bring some life back into her life. It's an interesting historical fact that I didn't know until I started auditioning for George's Room, and that is that it was originally written for television. I didn't know that, but the man who directed the original television production, a man called Alun used to be a director right here at the Questors Theatre and directed a number of plays in the 60s before he went on to become a professional director.
Red Peppers is a fantastic play. It takes us back to the days of variety in the 1930s. Back then, the country's top entertainers moved around the country, going from one town to another, one theatre to another, performing their routines to sell out houses. They were the pop stars of the day. They were household names. They earned big money. Noel Coward's play really provides us with a snapshot of what life was like for these variety performers back in the 1930s, both on stage and off stage. In our story, George and Lily Pepper are a husband and wife team. On stage, they sing, they dance, and they tell really bad jokes. They're not a very good act. And in fact, you wonder why they're still doing this after so many years. And then you realise that they do it because it's all they have. Variety is their life. And you know exactly where they're going to be a week from now, a year from now. They're going to be in another northern mill town performing the same routines, having the same arguments, and still complaining about their place on the bill.
Well, for my showcase, I needed a play that would last about 30 minutes. And I wanted, if possible, to find a piece of new writing, because I like to direct plays I've never seen before. I went to an evening of new writing last May, where 4 or 5 writers were each showcasing 5-minute plays that they'd written. And one of them was written by Mari Lloyd. It was called Charity, and it just struck a chord with me. It had very strong, witty characters and very good dialogue.
High Tea was the first play that I've ever written. Though it was the first play, I've written more since, but this was the first piece, and it was homework I had to do for the Open University, which was some time back when the Open University did these wonderful courses.
So I found Mari on Facebook, and I wrote to her and asked if she'd written anything that lasted 30 minutes rather than 5.
And it was a homework I had to do, and it was 7 pages long, and I always wanted to extend it, so I extended it to 30 minutes. I don't think it'll go longer than that. And then it was just sitting on my computer, and then several plays later, the director, Cathy Swift, asked if I had anything.
And she sent me the script for High Tea. And like Charity, it's got interesting, strong characters, very natural dialogue, but witty.
People have told me that a lot of my writing is about family life, and I didn't realise that until they said it. And when I went back, I realised, yes, and I write a lot about mothers and sons, or mothers and daughters. I've got 2 sons, so maybe that's why I'm nothing like Edith in the play. I have to stress that.
It's a serious story. It's about a middle-aged man who has been diagnosed with a life-limiting neurological condition.
One of the main characters, Tony, has a progressive neurological disorder, but he's very early on. And I knew about this because my brother was diagnosed with motor neuron disease.
And it's about how that illness changes the decisions he makes about his life, and how his relationships change with the people around them, and how their relationships change.
And on the spur of the moment decides to book a holiday to Las Vegas, but it's just before Christmas and he has to tell his elderly mother that he's not going to be there for Christmas. In the play he's not greatly disabled, but he still has the feeling that, you know, the things you want to do, you shouldn't wait, you should do it now. I believe the play is really about seizing the moment and acceptance.
I think the danger is with this particular play is that it can be played for superficial humour, but it's a much deeper play than that. There is humour in it, and it would be wrong to completely lose it, but the woman has been alone for a year and she's rather melancholic. The man, on the other hand, is a very positive, outgoing man, the exact opposite. Really, the play is concerned with these 2 contrasting characters who become closer as the play goes on. So, yes, I think it would be too superficial if you just played it for laughs throughout. So that was the delicate balance that we had to try to achieve.
Well, it's certainly been a challenge for the cast because of the need to perform these 1930s style routines, the song and dance and the comedy patter, which was the essence of the act performed by George and Lily Pepper. Now, in the story, they're really a second-rate act, but in order to perform this convincingly on the Questors stage, they have to be pretty good, and it's taken an awful lot of rehearsal to get these routines right, working with a pianist live in the studio and also, obviously, with a choreographer.
The rehearsals are going really well. Today we have Mari Lloyd, the writer, in with us, which was terrifying for everybody, especially me, because she was sitting just behind my right shoulder.
Today is the first time I've been to rehearsals, and it was really looking good. But afterwards, I could see all the actors looked at me and they really didn't like me being there. Well, it's not that they didn't like me being there, I made them quite anxious. But I was very well behaved, and I sat at the back and clapped at the end, and I was really, really pleased, very, very pleased. And I'm absolutely delighted that Questors is doing High Tea.
It's been really interesting and a great opportunity to work on a play that neither I nor any of the actors had seen before, because nobody came with any preconceptions, and so we've interpreted Mari's script together. And it was a great relief this evening to hear from Mari that we'd interpreted it in the way that she intended it to be interpreted. But that's been, at the same time, we've had Mari at the end of a phone or contactable by email if we needed her, so it was really the best of both worlds. I mean, when you do Romeo and Juliet, you can't give Shakespeare a call, can you?
Rehearsals have gone, on the whole, quite smoothly. Yes, I'm pleased to say. No tantrums.
Well, I think it will be a really good evening's entertainment. The 3 plays are all very different from each other.
There are a lot of good one-act plays out there, and a lot of theatre companies, professional and amateur, tend to give them short shrift. They like to go for a full-length play, and so short plays often get left out of the equation, which is a shame. And so this is an opportunity to see something which is probably something you may never have seen before, or at least not very often, and that is a set of completely unrelated but nevertheless very good one-act plays. So I think people should come along and take advantage of that. And I would say that 3 one-act plays is just as good a value for money as any full-length plays, yes.